All right, guys, when it comes to what's going on in politics today, if it walks like a Republican and talks like a Republican, Joe Manchin, you just might be Republican. We're going to talk about what I mean by that. Also, we're going to discuss when it comes to the vaccination and booster shots, we all know that the choice is up to you. We're going to at least talk about that when it comes to hospitalizations. And if you stay to the end of this video, there's one state that is still holding on to the eviction moratorium. Not everybody's happy about it. We'll talk about all this in details here on Mostly Money. Well, my name is Andre, and you're watching Mostly Money, where you're going to get all facts. No fake, no phony, and no fluffed up information when it comes to what is going on in politics today. And if you're interested in getting the truth on a daily basis, well, you've made it to the right channel. All you need to do for yourself is one thing: subscribe. Click that bell notification so you get the latest and greatest information coming from Mostly Money, because we're going to always be here for you and your loved ones. But before we get started with what's going on in politics today, I want to wish you all a happy holidays. I know that for many of you, you may be like me when you aren't around your immediate loved ones, and many of you may have even lost loved ones in 2020 or 2021. At the end of the day, we want to make sure we send some love out to you, and also remember this: we still have a new year with new opportunities that'll be coming up soon. Now let's get started. When it comes to Senator Joe Manchin, we've already know that he's going up and down when it comes to the negotiations with the Build Back Better plan, which is also called the American Family Plan. No matter what you call it, Joe Manchin has done everything he can, and his constituents and the lobbyists that has given him millions of dollars have done everything that they can to keep him from voting yes on getting this bill passed, at least the way that it's structured right now. And when it comes to our fellow Republicans, of course, they support Joe Manchin and would love to have him on their team.
And, you know, Nicole, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says Republicans would love to have Manchin in their party. He says, quote, "I think he'd be more comfortable." First off, where is this coming from? Has Manchin indicated he might consider switching parties? Because it seems to me he's popular among his constituents because he's a Democrat who is a little bit of a fly in the ointment for the Democrats. I don't know if his popularity would be maintained if he became a moderate Republican.
Well, I think from Senator Manchin's standpoint, I mean, look, he's old school in terms of being a moderate Democrat, right? You know, he came up in that age where you did have Republicans and Democrats working across the aisle. That has always been his experience, both within his state and, you know, here at the Capitol. That has always been his MO. And so from that standpoint, you know, he hasn't indicated that he would want to switch parties. But I mean, to a certain point, this is Republicans kind of doing a happy dance, right? They don't want the Build Back Better package to pass. So they're kind of like, ha ha, we told you so. You know, this guy should be in our party because, you know, he's basically kind of advancing their agenda in terms of putting the brakes on this package, which is something they have been arguing for months. So look, Leader McConnell did acknowledge to reporters about a week or so ago that he actually did try to sway Senator Manchin and encourage him to join the party, but he said he doesn't believe that that is likely to happen at this time.
But even though Mitch McConnell stated that he would love to have Joe Manchin become a Republican, Joe Manchin has already stated, "I would rather be a pseudo-Republican in the Democratic Party where he can infiltrate and disrupt public policies that the Democrats are trying to get done on behalf of the American people." So we're going to see where this stands, because you never know. 2024 is right around the corner, whether we want to admit it or not. And that's the next time that Joe Manchin will be up for election. He may be elected as a Republican. We'll see what takes place. And when it comes to what's taking place, we as a country have to acknowledge that this Omicron variant is here and is not going anywhere anytime too soon. It's actually looking as bad as COVID-19 did at this time period last year. So when it comes to hospitalization, let's not talk about the politics of the pandemics, but let's face the health threat reality when it comes to whether you get your shots or whether you don't, and how it impacts the community around you.
If you have been putting off being vaccinated for whatever reason, don't agonize about it. Don't let anybody make you feel bad about that and, you know, get you defensive about it. Just make a fresh decision now. Take a fresh look at the issue now, looking at what's going on now. No matter why you have put it off in the past, no judgment. Now is the time to actually go do it, because we really cannot afford you having to go to the hospital right now. If you're unvaccinated, you have a much higher chance of getting this newly transmissible variant we had never seen before a couple of weeks ago. And it's the unvaccinated people who it's going to make sick. And we really just cannot afford for you to have to go to the hospital right now. I mean, looking all around the country, depending on where you live, there is a very good chance there's no room for you in the hospital right now if you need to go. And if you can somehow get a bed because you got COVID and you got sick from it because you weren't vaccinated, if you are able to get yourself into a bed, you're going to be filling a bed that somebody else really needs. So even if you didn't feel like you could do it before, even if you've been holding off for whatever reason, look at it freshly now. Now would be the time. Even if it wasn't okay for you before, it's okay for you to do it now. Honestly, your country needs you. And if you are vaccinated, but you haven't been boosted yet and you're eligible for your booster, make your appointment for your booster. Now's the time. And I know from anecdotal experience where in part of the country where I live right now, signing up for a booster right now is sometimes hard to find an appointment. The only reason I'm saying that is not because you should be discouraged from trying to get one, but because if you know you need to get your booster, you should try to make your appointment now because you may have to make it some distance in advance in order to get into a vaccination site. So time to do it. This is it.
So as I said before, the choice is all up to you, whether you get vaccinated, whether you get your booster shots. But just remember, no matter what, whatever decision you make will have a great impact on you and your loved ones. Now, on to the eviction moratorium. Yes, there is a state that still has the eviction moratorium, at least until mid-January. And that state is New York. And not everybody is happy about it.
Calling it a violation of due process, the Building and Realty Institute is taking on the state, suing to stop the eviction moratorium, which was re-extended in September through January of next year.
Denies access, meaningful access to the court system and the legal process to property owners.
Under the moratorium, tenants can apply for either a medical or financial hardship, but landlords claim they have suffered millions in losses as a result and at the expense of some tenants who haven't endured any hardship at all.
And some of these tenants owed money since months before March of 2020 when everything really came to a head.
Some tenants may be abusing these declarations, these hardship, and they don't really have a hardship. But the vast majority of the tenants that we see are not lying. They do have a financial hardship.
Bedell is going to court weekly, representing tenants being challenged by landlords, and urges both parties to instead apply for emergency rental assistance from the state called ERAP. So far, nearly 300,000 applications were submitted and a third paid, including over $1 billion to landlords. The stipulation, tenants are then allowed to stay at the property for an entire year at the same rent.
The pain is going to have to be shared. And I think rather than going to federal court, what they ought to be doing is filing their documents with ERAP and getting paid.
It's sad to see these landlords who have lost out billions of dollars. Many have lost their property over the last 2 years in the name of keeping the country safe by not having people evicted and put out on the streets. But at the same time, the federal government should have made sure that the rental relief money was sent out there as fast as the stimulus checks were. And yet a huge amount of that rental relief money, that $45 billion that was sent out to all the states, most of that money will not be available at the end of the year to help out those who need to pay off their back rent. Hopefully the president as well as Congress come together early next year and create another plan that will be able to help landlords out as well as tenants. Well, my name is Andre of Mostly Money, and I'm here to give you all facts. No fake, no phony, and no fluffed up information. Thank you guys for subscribing to the channel. Once again, I appreciate all of you guys that click the like button, and especially you out there that are sharing these videos on your social media, especially on your Facebook page and your Twitter feed. I'm on my way to the comment section, and if I don't get a chance to speak to you and you don't get a chance to speak to me, we're not going to fret about it, because I'll be speaking to you again, Mayana. Speaking to you again. right, guys, when it comes to what's going on in politics today, if it walks like a Republican and talks like a Republican, Joe Manchin, you just might be Republican. We're going to talk about what I mean by that. Also, we're going to discuss when it comes to the vaccination and booster shots, we all know that the choice is up to you. We're going to at least talk about that when it comes to hospitalizations. And if you stay to the end of this video, there is one state that is still holding on to the eviction moratorium, but not everybody's happy about it. We'll talk about all this in details here on Mostly Money. Well, my name is Andre, and you're watching Mostly Money, where you're going to get all facts. No fake, no phony, and no fluffed up information when it comes to what is going on in politics today. And if you're interested in getting the truth on a daily basis, well, you've made it to the right channel. All you need to do for yourself is one thing: subscribe. Click that bell notification so you get the latest and greatest information coming from Mostly Money, because we're going to always be here for you and your loved ones. But before we get started with what's going on in politics today, I want to wish you all a happy holidays.